there! Chatbots and voice assistants are one of the most important tools in today's and especially in tomorrow's world, but who are the people behind them, the ones that make them work, the conversation designers? My name is Eran Soroka, head of marketing for cocohub.ai. Today we have a special guest, coming all the way from Leiden, Netherlands, Esha Metiary, conversation designer. How are you, Esha?
I am great. Thank you so much for having me in this brilliant podcast series.
Oh, thank you for the warm words. We didn't even start it. So how did you become a conversation designer?
Well, I have a short background in customer support. I once worked for an online auction platform, and I decided I wanted to go away from that. So I interviewed for a couple of positions that had to do with copywriting or content management. And at the current company I'm at, Crossphase, I applied for a position as a content manager. But during the interview, it kind of became clear that my qualities were more suited for a conversation design position. So one of the recruiters said during the interview, well, I think it's time we go over to plan B. And if there's something you don't want to hear during the interview, it's plan B. But they introduced me to the position of conversation designer, and I had no idea what it actually was. So I had to read some things. And in the end, I thought, well, this is pretty interesting, and I've never done this before. So yeah, let's do it.
Nice. So what skills did you have that made it so appealing to you?
Yeah, so the basics for me were the background in customer support and the basic interest in technology, of course. So combine those two, add a little psychology, and there you have a perfect recipe for conversation designers.
All right. What is the bot or project that you're most proud of?
Well, I've worked on a couple of bot projects in the last year and a half, 2 years, and each project teaches you something new. So I'm quite proud of all of them, but I think that the one that I'm most proud of is the one I'm currently at, which is Adidas. And we started to build a bot basically from the ground up. There was some groundwork done already, but we had to start a new platform, new intents, new dialogues, and so we started with building the persona, which was I love building personas. And after that, we had to connect with so many different departments, with legal, with brand communications, with customer support, and so many people were actually on board in this project, or are actually on board in this project, that makes it the project I'm most proud of.
Yeah, well, while you mentioned it, what's the secret to building a good chatbot persona?
Well, I know that the opinions differ there because you have to balance the company needs versus the user needs. But I think that a chatbot is really an ambassador of your brand. So stick to your brand values and make them also clear to the customer or the user that is using your chatbot. And if you have a clear, defined chatbot with core characteristics and a very defined way of speaking, I think that is the most important part of creating a good persona.
And were you ever needed to change course or fix things during or after launch? How was this process going?
Yeah. This immediately makes me think of a principle which is known in copywriting, which is killing your darlings. So the bot persona for Adidas, which is Adibot, we initially made her and model a bit of Beyonce, because Adidas has the Ivy Park line, and she's just such a role model for everyone, all women, of course. But then we found out that Ada, as she was called back then, is actually a bot service online already. So that was one of the first things we had to change. Also, one of the major changes we made is that a principle in bot personas is that they don't say sorry too much. Sorry, and then it's all right, but not too much. And I designed this with an English screenwriter. And myself, I'm Dutch, and I'm not really sure if you're familiar with how Dutch people are, but they can be blunt and short and unapologetic. Doesn't mean that your bot has to be this way, but there is quite a cultural difference if you apply those principles from a Dutch copywriter or Dutch conversation designer into an American bot, because that is what our core business for Adibot is. The American market desires much more apologies, saying sorry for the inconvenience, sorry for this, sorry for that. And that was not really a shock for me, but it was something that I had to, get used to. So while we initially designed the bot to be not so very apologetic, we had to come back on that decision and do a little bit more apologies and be a little softer for the public.
Wow, that's a fantastic story. What's the most important thing in a chatbot, in your opinion? It can be the persona as well.
This is quite a difficult question, but in my opinion, I think, I said to you that chatbots are brand ambassadors, which means it has its values, its core characteristics, but also we should help our customers as clear, as concise, and direct as possible, because customers are not waiting for long answers and beating around the bush. So it's very important to balance between the core characteristics of your chatbot and thus your brand, and not bending to the will of the customer too much. So what is very important in this sense is managing expectations and tell the customer what your bot cannot and can do, but also what it will and will not do.
Okay. One of your core principles in your work is inclusivity. So how do you make chatbot inclusive?
So textual, it's quite easy to make a bot inclusive. The basics are prevent pronouns, but use plural pronouns. But also, you should realize that as a conversation designer or as an AI trainer, you don't have all the knowledge that is needed to make a bot inclusive. So what you should do is make sure that you connect with all kinds of people who know things about the customers, who come from different demographic backgrounds, and take the knowledge that the people besides you have and apply it to your own work.
Okay. Can you recall maybe working on the Adibot or other things, like a funny incident or an amazing incident, awkward stuff that happened to you while designing the chatbot?
Oh, yeah, I do. And I'm pardon my French, but small disclaimer. One of my favorite things to do is actually go through all the things that customers actually say to us. And as you may know, one of the biggest products that Adidas sells are Yeezy shoes. And these products are dropped through a special process, and it's always very busy around that time. And people don't always get what they want because there's limited stock, it's exclusive access, etc., etc. So to cater to the needs of those customers, we go through the sentences of the things they say and filter out training phrases so we can feed that back to the bot. And here it comes. One of the sentences that an actual customer said was, "Whose dick do I have to suck to get a pair of Yeezys around here?" Well, of course, the customer is very frustrated, and we get that. And it's really sad to see them not getting the pair of Yeezys they want. But seeing such a sentence in the training phrases is just brilliant. And of course, the bot didn't understand the sentence that the customer said. So he said to the customer, "Sorry, I don't understand." And the reply the customer gave after that was, "I didn't stutter." So yeah, it was quite a funny scenario.
Yeah, my bot that I created for our own platform, cocohub, was running through like dozens, I think, of people that asked them to do some dirty things. So I actually created like specific intents of sex talks, and so it won't apologize. So it's this type of talk won't lead us anywhere. Like, let's try something else. So yeah, I think it's like the first episode of Taking Turns that I hate to beep something in the middle, but it was worth it. It was worth it. In your Crossphase, can you tell me about the company, about your like daily routine, your work there?
Yeah. Crossphase is a company that specializes in online communications services. So my colleagues are content managers, they are copywriters, and of course, conversation designers. Everything that a website could need to improve its services, textual or website-wise, we can offer that. And I'm one of the conversation designers here. Internally, I usually keep busy, of course, with my Adidas project, but then we also have sessions to improve our service or brainstorm about where conversation design is going and what Crossphase should do with it.
Okay. If somebody wants to become a conversation designer, you had it like plan B, but if somebody wants to do it like plan A, what would you recommend?
Yeah, there are a couple of things you should do. Of course, there are always the online courses and things you can train in like UX or customer support or do free trials of bot platforms. But the thing is, just get started. I've noticed that the community around conversation designers is a very happy, little, and welcoming community. So what they can also do is just send out invites to people in industry already and link up with them, connect with them, and ask them, hey, do you have any tips? Be ballsy. Don't be afraid. Just do it.
All right. Can you give us one forecast for the future of conversational AI?
Oh, just one? One only?
Do like 2 or 3. I won't like cut it out.
A forecast is that with the bots becoming more omni-channel, is that in the future I will also see that I also see bots using biometric identification. So in most bots, service bots or retail bots, we now see that customers are identified by their customer number or their order number or their address. But in the future, I will see it happening that bots will identify users with their fingerprint or with a facial scan to bypass any other details that the customer should possibly give, which can frustrate the process. And another forecast is that chatbots will become much more proactive. They are reactive now. You ask a question and we give the answer. But in the future, I think that chatbots will actively engage with the customer. For example, in Adidas, I will see it happening that we see that a customer is very interested in a certain line of products. And when a new product is bound to come out, that the chatbot will approach that customer and say, hey, I see that you're purchasing a lot of these products. We're dropping the new line in a few seconds or in a few months. Do you want to keep updated? Do you want to be updated? Or with telecom companies that the chatbot will say, hey, I see that your subscription is almost up. Do you want to see what kind of offer we have for you to renew that subscription?
Yeah, like action trigger proactiveness or like keyword trigger proactiveness. Yeah, I like it. Actually, we also like have some customers who create proactive chatbots, like in the real estate or education. All right, Esha Metiary, conversation designer from Leiden, Netherlands. Thank you very much for this great conversation.
Oh, you're most welcome.
And for everybody watching or listening, go check out cocohub.ai, where you can create bots with human touch, with bot building platform for textual, visual, and voice chatbots without any coding knowledge or any prior knowledge. Thank you for being here. Stay safe. Take care. Bye.